Hey everyone, it's Julian, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing highlights from my anniversary shop update and preparing for the holiday season. It was strange to do 2 updates in 1 month with very contrasting holidays and occasions. Since Halloween is around the corner, I really wanted to tell some spooky and scary stories to fit the occasion, but sadly, I realize I don't have any. I get spooked very easily, so I very rarely put myself in situations that feel scary or dangerous. So instead, I'll be telling some of my cringiest and embarrassing stories, because what's scarier than the embarrassing things that could happen on an everyday basis? My first story takes place when I was in 7th grade, the perfect age for a cringe fest to happen. I had a huge crush on this boy from my class, but I was an awkward preteen and it would be 4 more years until I actually started dating. So as you can imagine, I had no clue what I was doing when it came to crushes or flirting. Every Thursday I had after-school piano lessons, and after they ended, I would walk to the local library next door and wait for my parents to pick me up. This was a pretty small library. It was only 1 story and only a little bigger than an outlet mall store. One day I walked in and I saw my crush signing in at the front desk. I was so ecstatic to see him there, but we weren't close friends, so I couldn't walk up and say hi nonchalantly. So I wanted him to notice I was there in hopes he would come up and say hi to me. This would have been fine if I didn't try to take it a step further. I thought it would be a good idea to try and be sexy and accidentally drop something on the ground so I could bend over to pick it up. My prepubescent mind did not have the best ideas. In my hand, I was holding my piano lesson books in a tote bag. The books were really thin and light since they have to be able to fit on a stand when you're playing. I thought, okay, this is a light item that won't make so much noise if it falls to the ground. The handle was also long, so it couldn't have been more than a foot from the ground. You know where this is going, right? The books fell on their spine and created a loud and crisp bang that echoed throughout the entire library. Everyone was looking at me, naturally, because they were trying to find the source of the sudden sound. I was too embarrassed at the noise, I forgot to bend over like I planned and picked up the books as fast as I could before running off. I definitely got my crush's attention, but not at all in the way I intended. This next story is pretty tame in comparison, because this one is more awkward than cringe if anything. This first story happened when I was a senior in high school. I used to go to a Christian youth group twice a week after school, and every Monday we would have themed game nights. The leaders would decide on a theme for the week, for example, Blast of the Past, and the games could range from costume contests to obstacle races. I was never good at playing games and often sat out, but I loved attending so I could catch up with my friends and have a good time. There was one night where the theme was social media, and the games were centered around big social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. For one game, our group leader and host, who we'll call Dan, asked for volunteers because he was going to ask us questions based on our Facebook accounts. This was an easy game, so I raised my hand, but I would soon regret that decision. The questions were relatively easy. Who posted the most recent status? Who had the most likes on their cover photos? For the record, I was the winner for both of those categories. The last question was going to determine who wins the Facebook game, and involved a peer vote for best profile picture, for the 5th most recent photo. Before Dan clicked on my profile, I was trying to count back in my head and remember what my 5th profile picture was. And when he pulled up my album, I realized it was a photo of me and my ex-boyfriend at homecoming. My dumb ass didn't delete the photo, and here it was being projected on a screen in front of 50 other students. Mind you, I went to a small school of 400 to 500 students, so a good amount of people knew who he was, and to make it worse, his friends were also at game night. The vote was judged by volume of applause, and I think people knowing how awkward I felt gave me the loudest applause. Whether it was sympathy or they were laughing at me, I'll never know. I also think Dan picked up that this was an awkward situation because he quickly wrapped up and announced me as the winner. I won the Facebook game, but at what cost? I know that story isn't as embarrassing as others, but telling that story makes me physically cringe. because of all the stupid filtered selfies I had on my page, the one photo I forgot to delete was the one everyone voted on. This last story takes place when I was 21 and in my 3rd year of college, and is probably the worst story of them all. Like the Facebook photo story, it's one of those unfortunate coincidences. I was with my friend sitting in the front row of my media ethics class. I went to a small university where the classrooms were tiny, so the front row was literally pushed up against the professor's desk. My friend and I were waiting for class to start while our professor was on his computer in front of us, and we started talking about our reading assignment from a literature class we also shared. We were reading a book I'll call Gordon, and my friend was asking what I thought about it. I gave her my honest opinion. I couldn't stand the writing style. The pacing of the story was slow, and it felt like the author copy and pasted the storyline of another book, but just placed it in a different setting. I was brutally honest about my opinions with my friend, and then the professor asked us from his desk, "Are you talking about Gordon?" This particular professor making small talk was a little unusual. He was the type to work silently at his desk before starting the class. But I still responded politely and told him we were reading it for another class. He responds, "Ah, yes. My wife wrote that." I just spent the last 5 minutes unapologetically criticizing this book in front of the author's husband. The surname of the author and my professor isn't common either, but I never put 2 and 2 together. My friend and I exchanged glances as he started class, and I felt for sure I was going to fail the class unless I dropped out. Thankfully, he didn't flunk me. I passed the class and never spoke ill of Gordon again. At least not in class. My opinion still stands, but I've learned to be more tactful about my thoughts. And there you have it. Those are my spooky cringe stories to commemorate the Halloween season. I wish I had some actual ghost or paranormal stories to share for the occasion, but nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed laughing at my pain. If you like hearing stories like these, make sure to give this video a like and comment below what other stories you want to hear for the next studio vlog. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next one.